You are tuning in to the You Are Loved podcast, where we hope to bring love and kindness to the world.
Welcome to another You Are Loved podcast, where we have the amazing Raghda on with us today. She's a cybersecurity engineer with a Master of Science degree in Cybersecurity Operations and Leadership. She's passionate about empowering women and girls and on a journey to understand the human mind, exploring the fascinating realms of thoughts, emotions, behavior, neuroscience, and ancient energy practices, bridging innovative science with the mysteries of the quantum field and the power of personal transformation. Welcome, Raghda, to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jacqueline. So glad to be here with you.
Yeah, same here. So, how did you get into, I have to switch my Wi-Fi. How did you get into cybersecurity?
Okay, so that's a good question. To start, maybe I will go a few years back. So when I finished high school, I was back in Iraq. So I'm originally from Baghdad, Iraq. I moved to Jordan when I was 4 years old with my family, and then we came back to Iraq after like 10 years. So I completed my high school and my bachelor's degree back in Iraq, in Baghdad. When I finished my high school, I had a very high GPA, and everyone was telling me, oh, you should go to medical school. And at the time, through my teenagehood, I was a rebel. I was like, you know what, just because everyone is doing medical school, I'm not going to do it. So this was my way to express that I don't want to follow the stereotypes because I couldn't really express in other realms. And I felt this is my only way to show, you know what, I'm not going to follow the rules. So I decided, okay, if I don't want to do medical school, what should I do? So I was thinking, maybe something in tech. I wasn't even that into tech, but I found a school. It was information engineering, and I decided to go for it. So I did my bachelor's in information engineering, graduated from there, worked for like a couple years or so, and then moved to the US in 2015. When I moved to the US in 2015, I couldn't work with my degree because, everything is new here. You kind of have to prove yourself, take some certifications or study something here. So I had to start from the beginning. I worked at a retail store. I worked as a front desk at a law firm. And then I had to move. So I live in San Diego, California, and I had to move to Houston, Texas for some time so I can work in tech. I gathered some, background, some experience, and then I moved back to San Diego. I was able to work for a tech company. And then while working there, I really didn't find myself. I was trying to experience other realms. And that's when I thought about cybersecurity. And at the time, cybersecurity was really, something very interesting. Everyone's talking about it. And my personality, I always like to try new things that challenge me. Um, and I was like, you know what? Okay, maybe I can do my master's in cybersecurity. And at the time, COVID hit 2020. I was like, this is the perfect time to do it. So I applied for the Cybersecurity Operations and Leadership program at USD, University of San Diego. I got accepted, and from there, the journey of cybersecurity started.
That's awesome. So that is okay. That's pretty cool. And then my goddaughter, like she's in high school right now,
Yeah.
and I don't know if it was based off of her wanting to do it or like her dad like encouraging her, but she's definitely interested in cybersecurity. So what do you so one of the things you work on is like just like leadership and stuff like that with women. And so what are some things that you kind of recommend or suggest to women in regards to those careers and neuroscience and stuff like that?
Sure. So I think the first thing for any woman or girl is really to
Mm-hmm.
understand herself. So for me at the time, it just happened by chance. I just wanted to do something other than medical school. I thought about tech. I went into tech.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I can think of for any girl who's trying to understand, her path, what should she study, what she shouldn't, what should she try, is just try to tap in into like her feminine energy, that intuition. What is she like?
Mhm.
What does she like to do? Does she like tech? Okay, go for tech. She doesn't, maybe try something else. So really, no one knows what's best for you but you.
Mhm.
That's the thing that I always say. Like no one can really help you sometimes because nobody is you. You are the only you, right? So you're the only one who can really decide for yourself, and it's okay to change your mind. This is one of the things that I struggled at the beginning to understand. I thought like whenever you make a decision or try to do something, then that's it. You got to stick to it.
Mhm.
But now from, my humble experience, I always say, try it, go for it. You like it, try it. And if you change your mind later, that is okay. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. We can always make that U-turn at any time. You feel like you don't like it anymore, you change your mind, you grew, you change because we all change.
Yeah.
And it's like it's something that we cannot really control. This is life.
Yeah.
So just go for it, try it. And if you change your mind, that is okay.
Yeah.
That is the only advice that I can give.
Yeah, because a lot of times, like when you're getting out of high school or something like that, and then you're going into college, it's like they, which nobody does it. I don't understand why they put these expectations on teenagers. It's like, okay, well, you need to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. Like, really, I'm just 18. What do I know? I'll probably change my mind 100 times in
Exactly.
the next 10 years, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is
And
the
that's okay.
system. Definitely. It is the system that wants you to just have one path. It's like having copies of us, like copy,
Yeah.
like me, you, everyone, we should be just a copy of each other with
Yeah.
slight differences. But this is not how life is supposed to be. Each one of us is unique, having their own blueprint. And this is the only way for you to understand yourself is by trying, experiencing, and then following what you love and like at that, period of time, because that changes too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. And
Yeah.
so, what made you decide to come to the States, and leave Iraq and come here?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a funny story. I was a teenager. I was like 14 years old or so.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden I was, thinking about, you know what? I don't feel like I'm just gonna stay living there in the Middle East. I just want to go and live in the US. And I was telling everyone, I'm moving to the US, I'm living the American dream. And everyone was looking at me. They're like, okay, you're just a teenager, having those thoughts. But deep inside, I knew this is what I wanted. And I just believe that it's happening. Like it was a,
Mhm.
a, a done deal for me. This is happening. I'm done. I didn't know about
Yeah.
manifestation or any of that. But at early age, I was like, this is happening and it's going to happen. Like there's no doubt in it. So I always wanted to go. I didn't know how or what. And then it just happened. I got a visa to come to the US. And then when I came here, I applied for asylum. I had my own case, also, a background of like how women are treated, things that happened in my life back home that helped to strengthen my case.
Mhm.
And I had to wait for 5 years until I got to the interview. Because when you apply for asylum, there's like different stages. The
Mhm.
first year, you cannot even work, you cannot do anything until you get your work permit, your social security number, and then you can start, working. And then 5 years, I waited until the interview. I got the interview, and then I got my acceptance 6 months later. So yeah, it was a journey. It wasn't easy because it's a shift,
Yeah.
the lifestyle, the
Culture.
culture, the language, even though, I was always practicing English, like university, I was passionate about English, but still, the slangs, how people, act with
Yeah.
each other, and you're trying to blend into this new society, this new culture.
Yeah.
And it's new, like no matter how you're prepared or you think you're prepared, you're not.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was a huge change, but it was a great transformation for me.
That's awesome. So, what did you do that first year you were here if you couldn't work or anything?
I remember we were trying to find, so at the time I was with my ex-husband.
Uh-huh.
I'm a single mom, by the way. I have a
Okay.
5-year-old son. So at the time we were trying to understand, okay, what do we do? What can we do? So we started just studying some courses online, trying to take certifications. I remember at the time I studied for my CCNA certification, Cisco Certified Network
Mm-hmm.
Associate. And there was a school that teaches ESL, English as a second language, that was like close by to where we lived. So we went there as well. So kind of exploring, like, learning more English, doing some certificates on the side until I got the work permit and I was able to work.
And so did you guys like save up for to be able to survive over here for a year?
Yeah, of course, yeah. And family helped as well because it's expensive here. So yeah,
Yeah.
we were lucky to have like people supporting us, family supporting us, having our own savings. But yeah, it wasn't easy. Like it was tough.
Yeah, yeah. And you
Yeah.
guys moved to like one of the most expensive cities in the United States.
Exactly. Yeah, California, San Diego. When we arrived, when I first arrived, it was in San Francisco. We stayed there for like a couple weeks and then we moved to San Diego, which is beautiful but expensive.
Yeah, yeah, San Diego
Yeah.
is gorgeous, but Texas is nice too, but it's completely
Yeah.
different
It is.
culture than San Diego, California is as well. So that's
Definitely.
awesome. That's great. And
Yeah.
so you went through this transition of coming over to the United States, like what, 10 years ago, right?
Yes.
And 10 years ago, really, at 9.
Yeah.
And then you were married when you came over, had your child here, I'm assuming. And
Yes.
then now you're a single mom. And
Hmm.
so do you guys still talk? Like, is he still part, or is that separation has been part of like what influenced you to want to really dive more into like being more into like women leadership and stuff like that?
I think not really. I think my wake up call was having my son.
Mm,
So just to go like few years back, I would go back to my maybe like when I was 15, 16 years old. As I said, I was always a rebel. Like I had questions about anything and everything. Like why are we doing things a certain way? Especially, coming from a very conservative family and society and
yeah.
community as a woman. And that doesn't mean that boys were not really going through a lot of struggles, but I'm speaking from a female perspective, from a teenager who lived, in such a conservative family, society, circumstances. And I always wanted to understand, like, why I cannot do certain things or why I cannot just think. To me, it was more about the free thinking. I
Mhm.
wanted to think free. I wanted to ask questions, but a lot of times I was very cautious because I realized that people don't like me asking those questions. And a lot of
Mhm.
times they don't even have answers because to them, like, you have to fit in this one frame, to be that good girl, to be just like any other girl, just copies again of everyone
Yeah.
else. And boys had the same conditioning on them as well. Like they had to follow
Yeah.
a certain, stereotype. So I was always, questioning things and I stayed like that until I believe at some point, as human beings, we all want to be accepted. We want to feel that we belong. We want to feel that we are loved. So I feel at some point I gave up on the real me because I wanted to feel accepted. I
Mm.
wanted to be just like everyone else because I always felt like the black sheep. So I wanted to see like how does it feel to be accepted, to be loved. So then I started playing that role that wasn't me, that was completely someone else. And then I ended up, doing things in my life that wasn't me.
Mhm.
So I lost myself. I would say I lost myself for like maybe a good 10 years of my life. I
Mm.
was just playing a role. And there was always that void inside of me
Yeah.
that I didn't understand what was it, no matter what I do, no matter what I try, it's not working. There's always this void. And again, when I had my son, it was my wake up call. It was like,
Mm.
oh my God, it's like, what am I doing? What is this role or even roles that I'm playing? And none of them is the real me. And now at that time, I had to understand, okay, then who am I? that question, like when you're like,
Mm-hmm.
who am I? So I started this self-discovery journey. Like, who am I? Trying to remember who I was, and then rediscover who I was, unlearn some of the things that were just part of the programming and the conditioning that was just put, in our minds as kids, and trying to understand things for myself, trying to experience things, decide what works for me, what doesn't work for me, what is right for me, and what is not right for me. And I think this is a pivotal point in a lot of people's life, regardless, women or men. But as a woman, when I speak about that, that moment when you feel like, oh my God, I lost myself.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah.
This is the point that could take you up to the sky or can take you down, like very low, or like you're very depressed, you don't know what to do. And sometimes you have to go through that depression, that period of time where like, what is going on in my life, for you to rise
Mm-hmm.
up again. But it's that thing, because life is cycles, like through cycles of like lows and ups and downs, we
Right.
rise up again. So this is what I try to help women understand. The most important thing is you tapping into your real power, the real you, because everything else will come along. If you are playing a role that is not you, nothing will fit, nothing will work. All the time, you'll have that void inside of you. And a lot of times, you don't know, like, you don't know what is missing. But the
Mm-hmm.
moment you realize that number one is me being me and everything else will follow, this is like the enlightenment, I would
Mm-hmm.
like to say, like that enlightenment that you get. This is the most important thing.
So do you feel like you had to become like you had to move back into being more your authentic self for your son? So that way, because he's gonna love you regardless of whoever you are. So why not show him, because there's greatness within being that rebel and pushing back. Yeah, they get conflict, right? But you
Mhm.
do achieve a lot more as well, right? Because you're not gonna just settle. I was the same way when I was a kid and just asking questions. Why do I have to do this, or why is that? Or
Yeah.
I remember thinking when I was a kid, like when we were being taught colors like green and blue or
Yeah.
whatever. I think I was in like kindergarten or nursery school or whatever. And I remember saying, I wonder if they taught us that this color blue was actually green, would I believe that it's green, or would I really know that it's a blue? I remember
Exactly.
thinking that when I was like a little kid.
Oh yes, so true. Yes.
So it's like it's just having that, and yeah, and just like the controlling of thought and stuff like that. I just don't do well with people, trying to control. So are you working full time in cybersecurity now, or do you have your own company? Are you a contractor? Like, what do you have going on?
So I am working full time as a cybersecurity engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And on the side, so this past summer, I had the opportunity to volunteer for a women empowerment program,
Mm-hmm.
which was amazing. Because before that, I was doing so part of that self-discovery journey and trying to understand what's going on and how to rise up again and how to understand, like understanding what life is and
Mm-hmm.
who am I. Part of that, I got into a lot of, I took a lot of courses, I read a lot of books, I went into a lot of retreats. I studied the mind, the body, neuroscience, quantum field, energy. So, a lot of the learning that I've been doing, I felt this calling to help other women,
Mm.
because it took me like few years to understand and go through all of that. So why not share that knowledge? Why
Right.
not help women? And there's a lot, sometimes just one word that you say and one woman hearing that could change her life. That's the world to me.
Yeah.
So from there, I was like, okay, now that I've done the studying, the exploring, and all of that, how do I share that? I want to speak up. I have this feeling that I need to speak up. So I decided to do this volunteering program. I went to Morocco in Rabat, and I met with a group of women. And we started talking about, because to me, to understand what is going on with you, there are different steps that you need to understand. So we're mind, body, spirit. You cannot just jump into spirit, in my opinion. You cannot just jump into spirit and spiritual work and all of that without you understanding the physical body, the mind, how that affects us, because it's all part of our, earth experience, our life here.
Yeah.
You cannot just ignore one and work on one. It's all integrated. So I started, talking to these women about the power of the thoughts and thought patterns and how they affect your feelings. And then those feelings would generate more of the same thoughts. And
Mm-hmm.
this cycle and pattern that we have, and a lot of times we are unconscious of this. Like we are just living in our heads. And a lot of times those thoughts are from the past. It's just patterns from the past, and a lot of times it's like miserable things that happened to us in the
Mm-hmm.
past. And the mind keep rehearsing those. And the thing is, the most important thing that I keep telling everyone about is that your body does not differentiate or understand the difference between a real event, a bad event that's happening now, and between you rehearsing that event in your head. Because even if you're just rehearsing that, it thinks that it's actually happening
Yeah.
now. So your reaction as a body and mind and even soul is the same. So the body will
Right.
start, releasing those chemicals of cortisol, adrenaline, and you are living in survival the whole time.
Yeah.
And when you live in survival, it's not a time to create, it's not a time to learn, it's just a time to stay alive.
Right.
And
And
and,
you have
and
to get
yeah,
out of that. Yeah. So that way you can actually
exactly.
start creating things. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's
Yeah.
that's my main focus, is to help women understand from a scientific perspective how our mind functions with the body, the link between thoughts, feelings, and behavior, and
Mm-hmm.
how do we master being conscious of the unconscious patterns and thoughts in our head so we can become the creators of our life. We need also to regulate that nervous system to get it out of survival, and that's the time for us, after getting out of survival, that's the right time for us to create and to take control of our lives. Otherwise, you're just stuck in survival. You're living in that victim mentality.
Yeah. So you want to get out of victim and move into being victorious, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then and then helping them understand what are the steps, because sometimes we can just keep talking about it, but then how do I do that for a woman who is stuck in survival for years? Like how does she, what are the steps for her to take to
Mm-hmm.
help? So that's what I'm passionate about. Teaching them the scientific perspective of it, and then
Okay.
moving into practices. How do you regulate the nervous system? How do you tap into that feminine force energy, life
Mm.
force energy? So all of that just so we can understand the full picture, and you start feeling, oh my God, I'm such a powerful creator on this life. I'm not a
Yeah.
victim anymore. Yeah, so the mindset shifts then.
So are you like, so are you doing coaching at this point? Like, so if someone wanted to come to you, what are ways that you'd be able to, help them?
So I
Like,
recently,
are you a coach or like, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I recently started my company. I haven't
Okay.
started my coaching yet, but this is coming.
Okay.
If anyone wants to reach out, I'm pretty sure you're going to share my LinkedIn so they can reach out for now through
Yep.
LinkedIn. But in the
Okay.
future, I will be, yes, it's in the books. I just got to put some stuff together. I started the company. And yeah, hopefully I can do more coaching, motivational speaking, public speaking, small workshops, volunteering, because yeah, this is what really, seeing the change myself, it gives
Mm-hmm.
me the fuel to help other women change, and this is a mission to me. It's not something that I want to do as a side thing. I
Yeah.
want it to be my full-time, work at some point, because I'm really passionate about it, and this is my mission.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah. So we are going to share your LinkedIn link inside the description. So people, when
Yes.
it goes live, they'll be able to just copy and paste or click on it depending on the platform that
Mm,
they're getting it. And so if a young lady came to you and she said she was interested in something in the tech space, um what would probably be some the advice that you would give her to help her kind of figure out what area she wants to move into?
I would first say try different things. So I know when we say tech, a lot of people would think, okay, like what is that exactly? Because there's like different realms within tech. So she can do computer science,
Mm-hmm.
programming, AI, cybersecurity, whatever she's thinking about. I would say try different things. And then the other question would be like, how do I try? So if you have the opportunity to volunteer, that would be great. Just becoming a volunteer or an intern, this is amazing
Right.
because this gives you the opportunity to try without the actual commitment, right?
Yep.
And then also, there's a lot of free courses online that you can find on so many platforms, even on LinkedIn. So go to those courses, see what is this subject about. Is that something you feel passionate about or not? If you're not, do not force yourself to like something if you don't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Because it's not, maybe it's going to change in the future, but for now, just experience what do you like, try those free courses, see if you like the subject, if you're passionate about it, and go from there. But
Mm-hmm.
always try to find something that you like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. so,
Yes.
so, okay. And then, like, where are some free sites that they could go to?
So there is first LinkedIn Learning.
Right. Okay.
Another one is
But you have to pay for
Coursera.
LinkedIn to get LinkedIn Learning, I think. So
There is no, so there is a lot of free courses that I've tried myself. I can
that's
share the link
awesome.
with you later also that
Okay.
you can
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
add it. And there
I
is
just,
also Coursera,
oh,
coursera.org.
yeah. Coursera's
This
great.
one
They have that.
is really good.
Harvard does a
Another
lot of free courses as well. So,
yes,
yeah.
yes. So maybe they can also just Google, like, let's say programming free courses. They'll
Or
see a lot of
cybersecurity
our
courses or something like
cybersecurity.
that. Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
remember before even getting into my master's, I took a course on LinkedIn. It was free. And it was about cybersecurity. And I tried that myself. I was like, okay, let me try it, see how I like it. And I
Mm.
liked it. And I moved on with my cybers after that. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. So you
always,
really like that.
yes. So I always like encourage anyone who's trying to get into anything, try something that is, that would show you just a little bit, just a teaser of what is this about. So
Yeah.
you know for sure if you want to continue or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's even better because then that way also you save the money from going to
Yeah,
a school that you like may not even like or want
exactly.
to be in. And then it's like, okay, I've changed my career like 5 or 6 times. I've spent all this money in college, but or
Exactly.
courses or whatever. So yeah. And then also interning, I think, as well. If they can
Hmm.
intern and at
Definitely.
specific, yeah, kind of like get the feel and see what they really enjoy. So but,
Definitely. Yes.
all right, Ragda, is there any last inspirational thing? Oh, one last question,
Mhm.
before that.
Yes.
Um, what is, like, your favorite book that you believe has helped you, grow in your field or become the leader you wanna be or, whatever?
Oh my God, that's a tough question. There's so many of them.
Uh-huh.
Um, okay, so Untethered Soul for Michael Singer.
What's it called again?
Untethered Soul.
Oh, Untethered Soul. Okay, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's a great
the
book.
Untethered Soul. And then another one, The Presence Process for Michael Brown. I think
Okay.
that was the first book that I read. Yes, The Presence Process by Michael Brown, if I recall that correctly. That was 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And then I do recommend Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's
Oh,
he's a
yeah.
research he's a
Yeah.
researcher in neuroscience, epigenetics, quantum physics in the quantum
Mm.
field. I go to his retreats, I read his books, I do his meditations. So anyone who wants to look into the quantum field, science, physics, and the spirit world all together, I do
Mhm.
recommend all of his work. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Raja. Okay. Is there any last inspirational thing you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yes, I think it's a sentence or a motto that I've been, using, and I call it my own motto. I believe that there is no greater force than you
Mm-hmm.
remembering and embodying the
Mm.
real you. And again, you'll see a lot of yous in that sentence
Yeah,
because it's you. It's all about you and it's your life. So take control of your life. Do the work that needs to be done and be the creator because it is your life and it's all about you.
that's awesome. Raghda, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
And
Jacqueline.
we look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you. All right. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Everyone, thank you so much for another episode of You Are Loved. You can definitely check out our stuff at youareloved.store. And I hope you all have happy holidays.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of You Are Loved. If you have any topic ideas or would like to be a guest on the show, please hit us up on Instagram at youareloved.store.